In offering prayers through a Methodist tradition, we ask God that you would touch these persons who have been placed in position of leadership. Guard their hearts and let their hearts be led by you. Guard their minds, that their decisions might be cognitive through you. And those citizens that are here, we ask that you would do the same with them, that the parties would come together, and that this city, this county, will be led and governed in a manner that would be pleasing in thy sight. O Christ, our Redeemer and our Lord, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Here. Here.
Here.
Present. So moved.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing. Would the clerk please read the short title?
Yes, Madam President. Relative to the adoption and approval of the draft generic environmental impact statement regarding the potential environmental impact of the new comprehensive zoning ordinance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Thank you. And before we start some housekeeping, I know that we have someone that's going to speak first, and then we're going to allow anyone that wants to speak with 2-minute timeline. And anything that you say, rezone here, and we're listening. And it's going to be open for public comment until September 2nd. And you can contact Rezone Syracuse at syragov.net. All right.
Good afternoon. I'm Matt Kerwin, outside counsel for the City of Syracuse and seeker counsel on this matter. Thank you for having us today. Nice crowd. So just a little logistical housekeeping for the public hearing today. Again, this is specific to the Rezone Syracuse project. This is a public hearing on the draft generic environmental impact statement. It's not a public hearing on the rezone ordinance itself. So I'd ask the public to keep their comments limited to and be specific to the actual draft generic environmental impact statement that's before the council for consideration. As far as the process, for those who care to understand more about the seeker process here, the board cannot consider or act on the rezone document itself until the seeker process is complete. So we have to get through this public hearing. Staff will then work with council to address and respond to the comments received today and provide those in what's called the final generic environmental impact statement. After that, the council and staff will work together to prepare what's called the finding statement, which will then be presented to the council for consideration. At the conclusion of that process, when seeker is complete, the rezone ordinance, the new ordinance, proposed new ordinance and proposed new map can then be considered for adoption at that point. But until we get through seeker, we're not quite there yet. As far as anyone wishing to comment today, again, I'd ask, this is being recorded, so I'd ask anyone who's commenting to speak clearly, intelligibly, and state your name and your address for the record, because we will be assembling these comments as a staff and incorporating them into the draft generic environmental impact statement. And just lastly, this is just simply an ability for the council to solicit comments. It's not a question and answer session, so for anyone who has any questions, you can present those as part of your comments, and they can be responded to as part of the response to comments in the final GEIS. Any questions about any of that? No? Okay, thank you.
All right, is there anyone wishing to speak? We're just going to let folks come one at a time. 2 minutes.
Hi, I'd like to say, my name is David Rufus, and whatever he just said, it was very difficult to understand. in terms of the different degrees of when we can apply and ask questions. So I'm not sure exactly what that was. So at some particular point in time, if I can get that in writing. Just for the record, my name is David Rufus. I am a senior organizer with NYCLU. I am currently a resident of Syracuse. I've lived in the city of Syracuse for more than 60 years, and I'm really excited about that. I'm a resident of the South Side. What I would like to say today is that, while the Common Council has been entrusted to the care and the protection of the people, I am extremely concerned about the recent rezone plan that has been put into place before us. Any acceptable rezone plan must include a comprehensive understanding of how racist practices like redlining, zoning has contributed to severe segregation and lack of affordable housing in our city. Only after a deep understanding should a plan be created to address and combat those harms and prevent any future harm. The current plan does not do that. Syracuse should be actively working to repair the harms to low income and residents of color. It can do this by implementing a comprehensive zoning plan that prevents displacement, promotes affordable housing, and reinvests in the characters of the communities. Syracuse zone plans must consider the harmful impact of exclusionary zoning. Instead of the plan is doubling down on exclusionary zoning, even in areas that are currently out of conformity. The zoning plan must acquire affordable housing in all new development as incentives is simply not enough, and frankly never would work. The zoning plan must require affordable housing in all new developments. The city is blatantly ignoring land that will become available as a result of the ID1 redevelopment. This is negligent and should bore on the back of the community, should not bore on the back of the community. Speaking of residents that live near the ID1 redevelopment, rezone must, how much I got? 2 minutes up? All right, finally, I simply ask that we get an extension to 30 days, that will not work. We don't have enough time.
Can't hear you.
I'm going to minutes. Anyone have any statements, please submit them to me. Thank you.
Did you say anyone else? We do not hear anything you are saying. It's like you're talking among yourselves.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak? Can you hear me now?
Hello, my name is Mike Stanton. I'm president of the Southeast University Neighborhood Association. In 1978, Syracuse University demolished the old Archibald Stadium, replacing it with a Carrier Dome. At the same time, SU also demolished over 100 multifamily and apartment buildings west of the Dome, between the Dome and 81, replacing them primarily with parking lots and parking garages. Apartments and houses north of campus were also being demolished at this time and converted into parking lots. Of course, Syracuse University immediately built new off-campus housing to take the place of the housing that they demolished. Just kidding. For 40 years, starting in 1964, we went without a single new student dorm or apartment being built in the city. The 1980 census showed where all those displaced off-campus students went. The number of college students east of campus in 1970, before the construction of the Carrier Dome, had been 1,093. By 1980, after the construction of the Carrier Dome and the demolishment of all those houses, the number of college students east of campus had doubled to 2,416. By 2010, the number had tripled to 3,000 students. With thousands of students moving east of campus, investors got busy. Formerly owner-occupied homes were being chopped up to accommodate as many students as possible. Beds were going into dining rooms, living rooms, attics, even large closets. In 1991, to get a better handle on the situation, the city of Syracuse created the University Neighborhood Special District. Within the special district, absentee landlords are required to complete a certificate of suitability. Among other things, the C of S requires that owners produce a map of every floor in the building, showing how every space will be used. The city uses this to control, to say, no, you can't turn dining rooms and living rooms into bedrooms. No, you can't create new bedrooms in places that would be difficult to escape in an emergency, like basements and attics. Inadequate as they were, these tools are still needed in our neighborhood, and they're being removed by the rezone process. Thank you. Oh,
Sorry, you can't hear, I really apologize for that.
Thank you.
I'm Maggie Lane. I live at 340 Midland Avenue on the south side. Went to a lot of the rezone meetings before the pandemic, but I've really been concerned about affordable housing. So gentrification through rising rents is already happening. If Syracuse wants to avoid pushing its residents to unsafe and decrepit housing, it must create policy for affordable housing. The city can do this by building into the ordinance rules for new multi-unit buildings. Currently, the Syracuse Industrial Development Agency, SIDA, is examining pilot structures, ensuring that residential projects have either 20% or 40% mix of affordable apartments. Encoding such a requirement in rezone would make it universal for Syracuse whether or not a developer applies for a SIDA pilot. Moreover, it's paramount that the affordable rent calculation is based on Syracuse median income, which is $39,000, and not Onondaga County's, which is $63,000. Using a higher area median income would defeat the policy's purpose. So to get an affordable requirement for multi-unit buildings into rezone, please extend the comment period so that there can be community meetings about this issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Kathy Stribley, 316 Monticello Drive North, Syracuse. I'm here to comment on the adverse impacts on the neighborhood and residents from the inclusion of industrial type uses within the commercial CM zoning. It expands the category of things that are allowed within what used to be in our neighborhood a local business district. I'm speaking specifically about Valley Plaza, in which we have an empty grocery store. We have a proposal on the table that is waiting for rezone to be approved so that one of those large commercial developers that develop self-storage can come in and grab that grocery store space, and we will end up without any future possibility of having a grocery store. And we know this for a fact. We've talked to this prospective buyer. Eric Ennis actually told us that buyer is still on the table waiting for this legislation to go through. If that were to occur, a walkable, bicycle, accessible, busable food location would be eliminated. And so we're very, very concerned about this rezoning. It's not allowable under current zoning. It would have to go through hearings, and under this new proposal, as we understand it, we would not be able to do that. The area around this plaza is the highest low-income, low-access to grocery store area in the city. And that's on the USDA site. I'm not going to give you a copy of that, but I do have a copy and I can submit that. So we're very concerned. Under the New York Climate Action Bill,
Thank you.
one of the objectives is to have reduced vehicle miles traveled.
Okay, yeah,
So,
so,
thank you.
can you submit that?
I can submit this as a draft. I have other issues.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Mary Beth Hinton, and I live at 128 Dorset Road in the Southeast University neighborhood, next door to a student rental. For decades, the city has offered economic incentives for landlords to buy up houses in my once fine neighborhood, pack them with high rent-paying students, and in this way become fabulously wealthy. As soon as the students move in, these rental houses begin to deteriorate. The trash and noise and parking problems they generate drive owner-occupants away, which is great for landlords because then they can buy those houses. And so the neighborhood continues to decline. Why would the city lavish such privileges on business people out to make as much money as possible? The neighbors and the city be damned. Our, quote, unique neighborhood character, unquote, is being destroyed. Have we no pride in this city? Have we no common sense? Why encourage would-be owner-occupants, many of whom work at the nearby hospitals and educational institutions, to buy houses in the suburbs? Not a good plan for, quote, decreasing dependence on automobiles and, quote, reducing auto emissions in the city, which are among the goals stated in Rezone's draft generic environmental impact statement. During my 9 years on the board of the Southeast University Neighborhood Association, I have seen how little the city has done to save our neighborhood from landlord predation. However, I care about my house and my neighborhood, and I will try to stay here as long as I can. Thank you.
My name is Cliff Davidson. I'm a professor at Syracuse University and the director of environmental programs there. My wife, I live at 333 Berkeley Drive, and my wife and I moved to Syracuse from Pittsburgh 12 years ago. Currently I walk to work at the university every day. Walk there, walk back. One of the primary reasons that my wife and I moved to Syracuse to take advantage of this job opportunity was because of the university neighborhood, the Siuna neighborhood. And my wife and I are extremely desirous of maintaining that neighborhood. As far as I can see, the rezone plan will damage the current neighborhood that we have. And perhaps future faculty who would like to move to Syracuse will not make the decision to come here if, in fact, there is not a beautiful neighborhood like the Siuna neighborhood there. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Danya. I also live in the Syracuse University area, the southeastern section. I grew up in Syracuse. I'm a SCSD alum. I moved to North Carolina, and then when I had kids, specifically chose to move back to the same area because of the single-family residence, the easy walking, as many of my friends are pointing out. You can walk to restaurants, you can walk to libraries, you can walk to school, you can walk just about anywhere. I also bought my house over 23 years ago because it was in a single family resident neighborhood. Many of the neighborhoods around Syracuse University have many students. I knew that 23 years ago. Picked my house because there weren't a lot of students and not a lot of multi-family dwellings. That has changed. That is rapidly changing. There is student housing across the street from me. There's student housing behind me. There's probably at least 5 or 6 new student housing on every block every year. Much to Code's understanding, all of this is being done under the radar. I have brought many of these situations up, and I really hope that the council would not approve the rezone Syracuse until these protections for our neighborhood that have already been proposed by the Onondaga County Planning Department are added. We need to maintain our single-family neighborhoods so that single families can buy. New families, when I came in, I had an infant and a 3-year-old, was able to buy a single-family house that was affordable. Now you go to buy a single-family house and the landlords don't want to rent to you because they can make much more money from multiple students renting by the bedroom. That is a shame that these families are being displaced. I don't know where they're going to go to find a suitable housing. And quite frankly, I'm not happy with the neighborhood that I now live in. Thank you.
My name is Mary Cunningham. I was a 45-year resident of the city. And we've been talking a lot, and I've been knocking doors in the McKinney housing. And one of the things that was surprising to me is that they've been told that their housing will be torn down and replaced. We are talking constantly about affordable housing. McKinney housing is quality, lead-free housing, and it's as quality as the man it's named after. And it would be criminal to tear down McKinney homes, and it is a sign that here we have the housing that should be available for everyone and should be maintained, being torn down so that it won't be next to the income levels of the downtown 63,000 and the income levels of the south side 33,000. It's a sign of racism and classism. And I think if we're seriously about wanting affordable mixed housing, then that should be maintained, and there needs to be a longer period of time for all of us to consider how we're going to really plan in a way that actually gets us beyond a segregated and class biased city. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary.
My name is Dr. Brian Raudio. I run a engineering firm a block north of here. I live in Sedgwick Farm. I'm here representing a number of owners of historic properties. We have grave concerns with what's going on with the impact statement. It adds increasingly restrictive clauses about appeals, which is ridiculous considering it's supposed to be an environmental impact statement and not supposed to be legislation. These types of things will encourage abandonment and blight in these neighborhoods. I know this because I've spent the last 2 years personally restoring a blighted house on Brattle Drive. The environmental impact doesn't actually say anything about the natural world. It says there's no impact anticipated. I could have filled this entire chambers with the amount of refuse generated. We're talking about lead chips, we're talking about asbestos, mold, bunker fuel. This stuff is all increasingly important, and if we don't take consideration into the homeowners, the people that are actually maintaining these houses, and we instead restrict, with all these covenants and things, these houses are going to fall into disrepair. It's going to diminish property values, people are going to leave, and it's going to generate immense waste.
Hi, John Thomas Meyer here. I'm a 50-year resident of Sedgwick Farm, Syracuse, 206 Brattle Road. More of a subjective approach, just to say, after reading through the whole long law that you are considering, or revamping of regs, I find an awful lot of shortcomings. I'd like to use as an example the fact that 50 years ago, I moved into the neighborhood. About 4 or 5 years later, we generated the Preservation District in the leadership of Jay King, helped by others, including his right-hand man, Steve Beekner, thank you, and 4 of us who really walked the streets to sell one concept, the fact that to preserve the integrity of the neighborhood, we would require that there wouldn't be radical changes to the edifices, the front, the street view of the homes there. Well, what we've seen is 2 years later, a revamping of that regulation that our neighborhood voted 70% in favor of, to much more regulations, and this appears in the section having to do with preservation, to be confounded by more and more difficult to handle regulations for the homeowners. It's an example of where we're going, I think, the wrong direction, at least with regards to an incentive to preservation as we see it in our neighborhood. That's my subjective stance.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon. My name is Heather Schroeder. I live at 125 Westminster Ave. Been a city resident for 10 years. I have concerns with some of the remaining mapping that's illustrated in the draft environmental impact statement. Specifically in the university neighborhood, there are streets designated as single family that currently have two-family structures. These were constructed as two-family structures in the 1920s. And the concern is displacement of existing residents. If one of these structures were to burn, we've unfortunately had many fires in the university neighborhood over the previous 6 months. Would it be permitted as a right to rebuild a two-family structure in a single-family district? As the residents of Berkeley Park mentioned, some of the streets in the neighborhood have only single-family homes at this time. But the map requires further revision on a granular level to reflect streets that currently do offer multifamily housing as part of the original neighborhood fabric. Also, the downtown district still has 3 blocks that have not yet been designated MX5. This is an opportunity cost for our highest density developable area in the city. These 3 blocks are between Water and Erie Boulevard, right next to 690. And one of them currently houses a gas station. We've heard in the past that the hesitance to designate that site MX5 is so that a gas station would still be allowed to be developed in the future on that existing site, which seems to smack of spot zoning. And we also question the need for future gas station development in the central business district. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Kate Fernandez. I live at 115 Wendell Terrace. I also disagree with the DGEIS assessment of the changes to preservation as no impact. There is significant social, economic, quality of life, and environmental consequence to the proposed procedural changes, increased authority of the SLPB, and lack of meaningful appeal for their rulings. I am concerned that the SLPB changes proposed have not been adequately studied in the seeker process.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Alrighty, so the comment period will be open until September the 2nd. And you can submit to Rezone Syracuse at syrgov.net. And it's open till September the 2nd. And with that, I declare this public hearing closed. Thank you.
I would like to report for Councilor Majoke and the Public Safety Committee. He had a committee meeting on August 15th to discuss shot spotter services, police vehicle inventory, and the right to know law. I also had a committee meeting today at 11 o'clock for neighborhood preservation to discuss the ARPA funds to be used to implement the Digital Empowerment Pilot Program.
More committee report.
Excuse me, could I ask the committee to speak a little bit more clearly into the microphone? It's very difficult to hear you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any communications?
Yes, Madam President. I have one from the Honorable Nader Maroon, City Auditor, the performance audit for parks and recreation permit fees. I have one from the Department of Law, a letter notifying the Common Council the rezone draft environmental impact statement have been completed and ready for the public comment. And from the Empire State Development, the general plan of the New York State Urban Development Corp, together with the finding of the Central State New York Capital Project in Onondaga County.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion to nominate James Monto to fill the vacancy in the 5th Council District.
I would like to second that.
we call the roll.
Okay. Counselor Codwell.
Yes.
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Paniagua.
Yes.
Counselor Gathers.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
No.
Counselor Hogan.
Yes.
Counselor Machoke. I'm sorry about that. Counselor Allen.
Yes.
The motion passes with a vote of, what's this? 6-1 with Counselor Schultz voting no.
Thank you. Welcome, Councilor Matos. All righty. I have item number 8. I would like to introduce it and urge its adoption. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Councilor Paniagua.
We have the final proposed redistricting plan, but we're holding this item.
There's a committee meeting on the 29th at 4 o'clock.
30.
It's the 30th. I stand to be corrected. Thank you. Councilor Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam President. I have items 10 through 23, and I would like to introduce them and urge them adoption. Thank you.
Item 10. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 11. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 12. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 13. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 14. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 15. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Item 16. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 17. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 18. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 19. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 20. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 21. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 22. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 23. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Councilor Green.
Thank you, Madam President. I have items 24 through 28. I'd like to introduce them and urge their adoption.
Thank you. Item 24. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 25. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 26. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 27. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 28, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you. Counselor Paniagua.
Good afternoon. I have items 29 and 30. I would like to introduce them and urge for their adoption.
Item 29, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 30, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Counselor Gathers.
Thank you, Madam President. I have items 31 through 48. Withdrawing item number 31. All other items are ready, and I would like to introduce and urge their adoption.
Thank you. Item 31 is being withdrawn. Item 32, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 33, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 34, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 35, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 36, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 37, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 38, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 39, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 40, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 41, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 42, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 43, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 44, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 45, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 46, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 47, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 48, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you. Councilor Hogan.
Vice President Hudson, I will hold item 49.
Thank you. Item 49 is being held. Councilor Allen for Councilor Majuk.
Thank you. On behalf of Councilor Majoke, I would like to introduce and urge the adoption of items 50 through 62. You're welcome.
Item 50, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 51, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 52, are there any objections? Discussion?
Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 53, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 54, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 55, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 56, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 57, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 58, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 59, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 60, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 61, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 62, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Counselor Allen.
Thank you, Madam President. I have items 63 through 82. I would like to hold item 72 and withdraw item 81. All others are ready. I would like to introduce them and urge.
Drawn and you're holding which one?
I'm gonna hold item 72 and then withdraw 81.
You?
You're welcome.
All right. Item 83, 63. Are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 64, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 65, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 66, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 67, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 68, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 69, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 70, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 71, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 72 is being held. Item 73, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 74, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 75, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 76, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 77, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 78, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 79, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 80, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Item 81 is being withdrawn. Item 82, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion to waive the rules to introduce item 83.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. You all on it.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce item 83 and urge its adoption.
Item 83, are there any objections? Discussion? Please call the roll.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We have now concluded the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.